Um, the last question I wanted to ask is how would you counsel someone who feels that their history is severe enough or significant enough that they just don't have a healthy future in front of them, right? That
Hmm.
perhaps like I want a marriage and a family. I just don't know if that's in the cards for me because of the relationships I've already had. Or like I'm not sure that I will ever find a spouse. I'm losing hope that I'll ever find a spouse that's willing to deal with what I'm bringing to the table. How would you counsel
Hmm.
somebody like that?
I'll tell you, I'll start with what I wouldn't do. What I wouldn't do is give somebody the empty kind of platitudes that's, there's always a fish in the sea for you. God has someone, the whole soulmate idea, like I just don't buy that, right? There's no promise in scripture that's going to happen. So I think we had said this before, but sometimes we rush to trying to fix those feelings, and make them not exist by giving them something like a Jeremiah 29:11. God has a plan for you. It'll all work out. Yeah, but these fears are super real and they're super hurtful and they're super scary. So when I think of how would I counsel someone, oh gosh, I feel like I keep going back to this. I would want to spend some time giving them the space to express how painful that is, how difficult that is. But then what do we do with it? I think in one respect we go back to what is our identity wrapped up in, right? I think identity is always can be a big thing because for so many in our culture, identity is wrapped up in sexuality in one form or another. Um, And that as big as that is sexually as we've been talking about it, it's not an identity. My identity is so much bigger than that. It's rooted in something so much bigger than that. And that is in the Christ who has given himself for me. So I think another part of that though too is helping people to understand what is the value of singleness. We can almost idolize marriage in our church, and for good reason. Marriage established by God for the creation of family, all of those things. But the way we talk about marriage sometimes makes it seem like anything less than that makes you a less than. And that's just not the reality. Marriage is a beautiful picture of Christ and his church. And as we look ahead to the heaven that we will all have, there's that really fascinating section where it says they will neither be given in marriage. There will be no marriage in heaven. There will be neither given nor marriage, that whole thing. Anyways, I think it's fascinating because God isn't eliminating marriage in heaven, but he's raising up all the other relationships to say, look at all these beautiful relationships that exist and the value of singleness on this side of heaven, helping that person to understand what do you have to offer? What does a meaningful relationship for you look like? And if a meaningful relationship for you is only sexually, then we need to spend some more time learning about what is connection, what is companionship, what is. I talk with a lot of 18 to 22-year-old guys who are just desperate for a girlfriend, right? And they'll say, yeah, I want to be loved. I want connection and those kind of things. I'm like, let's be honest. If you wanted that, you have that in your mom. What you're looking for is that sexual relationship. Oh, yeah, you're right, Pastor. Right. So I want to help them explore what does meaningful connection look like when it's not sexual, and does God still have purpose for you, vocational purpose for you as um, a single person? So that's a long-winded way. The first thing that I would do is just give somebody the time to express that can be a very scary thought. The thought that I'm going to be alone, right? I can argue with you that you're not going to be alone, but that's not helpful, right? So that's a heavy load for somebody to carry, especially when it's connected to past sins, because then it can start to feel like, okay, God is going to punish me for the rest of my life because of what happened then. And that's a heavy load to carry. So much compassion I want to give that person who's going through that kind of thing. But then again, help them to build up meaningful connection in other ways that are just as deep, that are very profound as well.